Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever wondered what would happen if a nation's ultimate goal wasn't just piling up economic wealth, but actually stepping up and taking on parental responsibility for the entire world? Well, today we're unpacking a radically fascinating, highly detailed blueprint proposed for South Korea's future. It's based on a recent lecture that maps out a massive civic shift, and we're going to explore this vision that seeks to completely redefine the nation's role on the global stage. We'll walk through this structured plan step by step to see exactly how this whole transformation is supposed to play out.
So let's dive right in with one fundamental question. Where is South Korea heading now? The source material argues that we've hit a really critical juncture. It's no longer just about getting richer or building bigger, flashier cities. It's about what a highly developed nation actually decides to do with all that wealth and influence.
All right, part one, South Korea's new turning point.
To really grasp this, we have to contrast the old way of doing things with this proposed new era. For decades, nations have pretty much operated like national cartels, acting purely out of self-interest, right? If a situation doesn't directly benefit their own borders, they kind of just treat other countries as competitors or even enemies. But this blueprint proposes a radical shift toward global benefit. The core argument is that South Korea only gained its current strength because the global community supported it. So moving forward, absolutely everything, whether that's exporting K-pop, expanding tech businesses, or even developing national defense, has to be done for world peace. The source points out that if a country cranks out high-quality weapons purely to make a quick buck, they'll eventually face ruin. But producing them as a powerful deterrent to protect humanity, that completely aligns with this new turning point.
The speaker frames this transition with some really fascinating, almost spiritual language. The idea here is that while physical growth and infrastructure come from Earth's energy, true global leadership requires what they call heaven's energy, which is essentially profound wisdom. And that wisdom, well, it's only unlocked when the society genuinely lives for the benefit of the global community, rather than just its own citizens.
Moving on to Section 2, the birth of the Social Parents Club.
Enter the social parents. Now, we aren't talking about your everyday charity workers or local volunteers here. This blueprint is calling for civic, political, and economic heavyweights to form a united front, literally taking on parental responsibility for the nation. Instead of forming self-interested political alliances, these leaders are tasked with stepping up to the plate to solve the massive macro-level crises that standard politics have frankly just failed to fix.
Section 3, the Zero Suicide Project.
Number 1. Amidst all this lofty talk about global peace and heavenly energy, the source drops a very sobering reality check. Despite explosive economic growth and a highly educated population, South Korea has tragically held the #1 spot for suicides globally for over a decade. The speaker argues that tackling this statistic head-on is the direct, undeniable responsibility of these new social parents. It's basically the ultimate test of their leadership before they can ever even hope to help the rest of the world.
So how exactly do they plan to fix it? Well, the rollout for the Zero Suicide Project is highly structured. First, these social leaders quietly gather to study the root causes. Next, they build a formal foundation. The real kickoff happens when a prominent figure, specifically a top economic leader who manages the country's wealth, makes an official public declaration to take this on. And finally, once South Korea successfully creates a working domestic model to eliminate suicide, they package that solution and export it globally as a brand new international standard for mental health. It's a massive undertaking.
Which brings us to Section 4, the true meaning of welfare.
You see, solving a crisis like that requires us to completely redefine what it means to actually need welfare. Traditionally, we've pictured someone who doesn't have enough food or basic survival goods. But this newly proposed definition goes so much deeper. The argument is that even if you're well-fed and have a roof over your head, if you lack a sense of purpose or simply don't know how to live a meaningful life, you're in pain. You are struggling, and therefore, you need societal welfare. The ultimate role of the social parents is to teach people how to live properly, completely eradicating that deeply felt modern pain.
To cure this modern pain and achieve a new standard of living, members of this Social Parents Club are going to dive deep into researching our core societal pillars. They'll study how to officially redefine social welfare, launch cultural businesses that genuinely heal communities, fix broken family dynamics, and even rethink the true modern purpose of marriage. The goal is to gather all of this vital research, solve the issues at home first, and eventually establish South Korea as the global headquarters for this data, sharing these proven blueprints with the rest of the world.
Section 5. Hongik Ingan and Global Peace.
All of this culminates in reclaiming a traditional Korean philosophy, Hongik Ingan, which broadly translates to benefiting all of humanity. The source acknowledges that, unfortunately, this term carries some heavy, divisive political baggage today, but the blueprint argues for bravely stripping all of that baggage away. It advocates for neutrally redefining Hongik not as some vague, idealistic slogan, but an active, concrete, global peace business. It's really about creating an environment of harmony that the entire world will actually want to follow and invest in.
If we trace the evolution of the nation, the blueprint is remarkably clear. In decades past, rapid national growth came primarily from utilizing the Earth's physical resources. The present year represents the turning point, launching this whole social parents framework into action. And the ultimate future destination? South Korea becoming a global peace headquarters. The core philosophy driving this is that domestic peace is absolutely impossible without striving for global peace. It demands a complete shift in the fundamental habits of the entire nation.
The speaker actually brings up a famous historical quote from the nation's first president, "United we stand, divided we fall." But there is a very critical caveat here. You see, unifying blindly just makes you a gang. If people gather together purely out of self-interest, acting like a unified cartel, well, it completely defeats the purpose. True unity has to be rooted in a righteous spirit, great individuals coming together specifically for the cause of global peace and the genuine benefit of all humanity.
So as we wrap up this explainer, we want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Is this Hongik vision, embracing ultimate global responsibility, actually the right blueprint to truly unite a nation? Can adopting the heavy mantle of the world's social parents finally solve deeply painful domestic crises, like the suicide epidemic? It's a massive paradigm shift. It's one that challenges leaders to look far beyond their own borders just to heal their own home. What do you think?